Alright, this second video has to deal with the national debt in relation to what Daniel shows us in Daniel chapter 2 and in Daniel chapter 7. In those chapters we see that the Lord instructs Daniel about the last days and who is going to be the world empire in the last days. And we know from Scripture that it's not going to be the United States, because the United States is not even mentioned at all in that book. And so, by the lack of information, it gives us a wealth of knowledge, knowing what to expect in the last days. Because the United States, first of all, was never a world empire, even it's in its highest power stage, if you will. And so, right now, America is declining. And we know why it's declining, because Jesus told us in Revelation chapter 17, as well as we see from Daniel chapter 2 and 7, that the last world empire would be a revived Roman Empire. So we know it's not the United States, but we do know from that lack of information that the United States will not play a major role, and something at that point would probably take place to decrease the superpower of the United States, who have been a major power for many, many years, and all of a sudden they're declining faster and faster. And according to what I believe are the indications of the last days birth pangs that I already spoke about in my first video today here at this post. And so I want to give you some insights, because in my book in chapter 2, which I talk about Daniel there and his prophecy, that we see the signs of the United States decreasing in power. And we also see the increase of the superpower of China, and there's a reason behind that. But first of all, let me get in to the national debt. We know that right now the national debt is one of the major problems for the United States, is causing America to decline. We're losing hundreds of thousands of jobs every single month. 2 years ago, I warned that you keep watching the news, because you are going to see evidence that we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of jobs every single month, and that's exactly what we're seeing. America is in for the worst ride of their life, and the First Depression is nothing compared to what is coming, because the debt that they've been borrowing, which has now reached $13 trillion, first of all, can never be paid off. And the countries like China, who have been paying off the debt, are now starting to move away from the United States, giving hints that they're going to dump the dollar. They're buying up as much gold as they can right now, and gold is at its highest point, at the record levels. And I warn about that in relation to chapter 18 in the book of Revelation, how people will be weeping and wailing over the loss of gold and silver. So we know that gold and silver is going to rise during the last days. But China right now is growing in power, while the United States is losing in power. And the Obama administration is in a lot of problems. I mean, they have a lot of problems, and the problems are increasing, not just from the Gulf Coast and what's happening with the oil spill, but the economy, and is viewed by the world as a world power for what they're doing around the world and how they're acting. So they're diminishing in all different aspects of the world. But there's a report out today, and I have the links right below my video. You can click to the link and read the whole entire report. It talks about President Obama has 2 major messages for Congress in recent months, and keeps on focus on the jobs and the economy. Now, Obama is actually hurting America tremendously. His plans are wrecking the United States. And so much so now that he's continuing to borrow more and more money. He has raised the debt from the United States more than any president ever. I mean, what he has done in comparisons in just the short amount of time that he's been in office compares nothing. I mean, this is just, it's incredible, the amount of debt that we've been placed underneath him since the Bush administration. And now the White House is fighting to keep power, because they know that the ratings for the president right now are 41%. I haven't checked it today. It's probably even lower. But the people see that he is not doing what he said. He is actually hurting the economy, not rising it like he said that he would. And so now the Obama administration is pleading for more money, borrow more money so that they can fund the money from the states who are going bankrupt, to keep the people employed and to keep them on the rolls to get these social services like welfare and checks and whatnot, to keep the government going. But it's only going to last for so long before the rug is pulled out of the United States. They're running out of money, so where are you going to get it? The collapse is coming. America's power is going down while the other nations are rising in power. And this is for a purpose, because America is not in Scripture at all as far as the last world power goes. Now, also, you're going to see an article that deals with China, and they're talking about China overtaking the United States as a producer. It says the United States remained the world's biggest manufacturing nation by output last year, but is poised to be relinquished this slot in 2011 to China, thus ending a 110-year run as the #1 country in factory production. So we're seeing the United States decline in all different avenues of government. They're declining as a power, they're declining as a military power, they're declining in manufacturing, and this is all in part the decrease. It's almost like John the Baptist. John the Baptist knew he had a decrease while Jesus' power increased to fulfill prophecy. And essentially that's what's happened with the United States. And so it's important to know and understand about China, because China is mentioned in the Scriptures. Unlike the United States, who is not going to play a major role, China is going to play a major role in the Scriptures, and Jesus told us that. Now, when you look in Revelation chapter 9, verses 14 through 16, and you go into chapter there's two chapters in chapter 16 verse 12 where it talks about an army of 200 million soldiers. Now these 200 million soldiers are, we're told, that are coming from the east. Well, where's China? They're in the east. Now in my book I document that China has come out and they stated that they have armed an army, an official army of exactly 200 million soldiers, the very same number that Jesus Christ gave to us in the book of Revelation. Now, is that a coincidence? No, it isn't. Only God, a really true God, could give you that specific information 2,000 years before it ever happened. So that is exciting. We see these things taking place. Now, we're told in Revelation that China is going to move across the dry Euphrates River. They are going to attack the West. Now, there's a book out that discusses this, and it's on, when you look below this video, you're going to see the book, China, Fragile Superpower. And there's an excerpt there that I put on my site that you can read that shows that right now China is doing very well. They're growing. They have major problems, first of all, because they're absorbing so much water. They have a problem finding drinking water because they got a massive drought, which is also part of prophecy, where the Lord said in the last days we're going to have famines and droughts and so forth. But this article talks about China living peaceably right now, but it's going to change because of certain circumstances, and they believe that China will be aggressive in the near future and go to war. Now, this is exactly what we see in the book of Revelation. So what the author is saying here, and you're going to read it for yourself, is in line exactly what was prophesied that was going to happen. China is going to usurp their power and make an attack. They're going to cross the Euphrates River that's drying up right now, by the way, and they're going to go and fulfill prophecy. And it's, like I said, it's not a coincidence that they have an army of 200 million soldiers. So again, tell your friends about what I'm doing. I'm giving you documentation, and come again. Thank you very much for tuning in.